It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories we're watching this Friday weekend, May 30. Outgoing Senator Coco Pimentel questions Senate President Jesus Escudero's move to move the impeachment proceedings of VP Sara Duterte. This comes after the presentation of impeachment articles was moved from June 2 to June 11. Pimentel insists the Senate should prioritize impeachment over legislative work, contrary to Escudero's justification for the delay. Malacanang dismisses attorney Nicolas Kaufman's accusation that President Marcos is behind former President Duterte's ICC arrest, calling it baseless. Press officer Claire Castro says Kaufman should focus on his legal duties as Duterte's lead counsel instead of spreading fake news. She stresses that Duterte's transfer to The Hague is due to charges of crimes against humanity linked to the drug war and not because of political maneuverings. Former Congressman Arnulfo Tevez Jr. has been transferred to the new Bilibid prison in Muntinlupa following his deportation from Timor-Leste. The NBI assures the public that he will be held under strict protocols without VIP treatment. He is facing multiple criminal charges, including the murder of Negros Oriental Governor Roel Degamo. And outgoing PNP Chief Romel Marbil says incoming PNP Chief Nicolas Torre is even better suited to lead the police force. Marbil believes that Torre has the skills and the leadership needed to continue and improve on the reforms that he started. Marbil steps down on June 2, leaving the PNP in what he calls strong and capable hands. And joining us today is Storycon's resident political pundit who has his hands on everything and everybody. Okay. Political pundit, Tito Raul Llamas.
Happy weekend! Maraming intro yun.
Bakit?
Kaya ang dami nagagalit sa akin. Boss ng mga political pundit.
Diba? A
Di nga
finger
ako.
in every pie. That means you're well connected in everybody's network.
Buti na lang, hindi ako naniniwala sa legend ni Ed Lingao. Kundi, aangat ang aking self-esteem.
Okay, ipasok na natin the lady who has her finger in every fashion magazine, di ba? From the Philippine Star, editor-in-chief.
Hirap na hirap. Trying hard. Pagpasensya mo na, Ronald, na-miss ka niyan eh.
O, dali.
Happy weekend, everybody.
Mag-fashion critic ka na.
Nakuha kasi siya na...
Na-miss ka.
Hindi, na-FOMO siya. Wala siya doon sa West Philippine Sea. Na fear of missing out siya eh.
Ayun pala yun.
Parang si Gretchen. Parang si Gretchen. FOMO.
FOMO.
Fear of missing out.
Saan mo na ko yung mga vocabulary mo? Mga bata na kami
Ano
na.
ka ba naman, Ed? Matagal na yan.
Matagal ba yun?
FOMO.
Matagal na yan.
Anong dekada yan? Ba't di ko nabutan yan?
Gen Z yata yan eh.
Oh, Gen Z.
Ewan ko, narinig ko sa mga bata eh. Matagal
Oo
ko
nga,
na narinig yan.
Sa mga bata ko narinig yan.
Marami ko, may mga pamangkin ako, no? Naririnig ko sa mga pamangkin ko.
FOMO.
Insi pamintuan, in.
Oo, marami ko mga kasama mga bata eh.
Army pala si pamintuan, no? BTS ba?
Saka mga producer namin dito, puro mga bata yung mga yan. Naririnig mo yan yung mga ano.
yung editor-in-chief, Lola. Diba?
Ako yung Lola.
Ingat ka dyan, gusto yung mga ganang hirit. Mababrand ka na naman ng di oras yan.
Toxic masculinity ba
Madadamay
yun?
pa ako sa'yo, ikaw talaga.
Toxic masculinity ba yun, Lola?
Great-grandmother na ako, great-grandmother na.
Hindi lang Lola.
Natotrouble ako sa'yo eh.
Lola sa tuhod.
Lola sa tuhod na. May mga baby na eh.
Teka, Ami, si Ichu ba, BTS din o K-pop?
Yung apo niya kasi maliit pa eh, baka hindi.
Aba?
Hindi pa niya alam yung mga ano, hindi pa yan in na in.
So ano si Icho?
Kaya ko yung generation, yung army, ano, yan yung mga kasama ko yung army. Kaya alam ko.
So si Icho, ano, Engelbert Humperdinck pa rin.
Nakakabat siya ni Ronald.
John Baez kami, John Baez.
John Baez.
Ayan.
Teka, baka magsaksakan na tayo dito. Well, let's move on. Let's move on. Teka, okay. June 2, naging June 11, ang matagal na delay na impeachment.
Well, nagwo-worry yung mga tao dahil una, yung forthwith, tumagal na ng tumagal yung forthwith na yan. Tapos ngayon, tapos na yung election, na-extend na na-extend. Tapos may mga nagsasabi na ininip in the bud na yan. Na sasabihin na, hindi na pala pwede na tumawid sa 20th Congress dahil hindi naman na-convene yung trial do sa 19th Congress. So ngayon, nasa bingit na eh. Nasa bingit na ng ganong klaseng legal possibility. So makikita mo na parang may conspiracy talaga.
And now you have the president, talagang naghugas kamay talagang ano talagang talagang maraming sabon na ginamit niya.
Tama. Kaya anyari. Pero napag-uusapan na yan as early as February no? Nung nagkaroon ng forthwith controversy. Ito bang forthwith ay talagang definition of terms lang o talagang isinasagad para hindi matuloy yung impeachment? No?
But Bok, may question.
Kailangan, tanungin natin yung mga abogado kung kailan yung official start ng impeachment trial. Kasi yun yung sinasabi ng iba, kapag umpisahan officially within the 90th Congress, saka lang siya pwedeng tumalon sa 20th. Kailan yung official start? Kasi parang hindi ba magko-convene pa lang for parang yung yung preliminary, hindi ba?
Anyway,
So
we will
hindi
have
ko alam kung kailan yung start.
We will have later former Senate President Franklin Drilon to join us kasi yun nga sabi nga ni Amin dami legal questions among which Bok sa akin something so basic is there any provision that, in the Constitution or any law that allows an impeachment that has been initiated to not be continued? Kumbaga na-impeach isang tao, pwede bang sabihin na, ay, hindi natin tutuloy yung trial?
Oo, wag na lang.
Is there anything that allows for that? Di ba? That's an interesting question kasi, kumbaga, na-impeach na.
Pag inakit mo naman sa Supreme Court, sasabihin ng Supreme Court, teka, no? Sui generis yan
Senate.
Sa inyo, kayo, decision nyo yan. Wala kaming pakialam dyan, no?
Kasi in the case, I think of in the case of Mercy Gutierrez, she was impeached, pero she resigned.
Nag-resign siya.
Nag-resign siya.
So, ibang kaso yun Pero yung na-impeach ka, tapos pending lahat.
Tapos dinribol, nire-define ang forthwith.
Is there any option like that?
Oo.
Yeah, may
Kaya
wallet,
inaasahan naman ng mga prosecution team na i-challenge yung pagtalon niyan sa 20th Congress, di ba?
Certainly.
Kaya lang kung ganitong kauumpisa lang ng session, yun na nga tatanungin, kailan mag-uumpisa officially yung process ng trial? Kasi pumasok din ngayon ang Malacanang, sinabi rin na may hinihingi na, pwedeng sabihin yun ng mga senador may hinihingi si President Marcos na pakibilisan nga nyo, ilan ba yan, 6 or 7 laws, na baka naman pwede ipasa pa bago mag-adjourn. No? Kaya pwedeng sabihin ng mga senador, unahin namin to, tapos saka kami in fact, yun ang sinasabi nga nila, Cheese, unahin namin tong legislation, and then we get on with the impeachment trial. Na binabanatan ngayon ni Coco Pimentel, at sinabi rin ni Tito Soto na one of those who crafted the rules on impeachment at nakadalawa ng impeachment trial, hindi daw pwede.
Bok, but if you have 10 or 11 bills pending, and you're looking at doing all that in 1 week, ba't di lang sila nag-special session?
Hindi, baka parang special session na ngayon kasi mamadaliin, di ba?
Yeah, I mean, they could have done a special session immediately after the recess was announced.
Hindi, ang sabi kasi nga, eleksyon, nangangampanya yung iba.
Yeah, but
wala daw magdadatingan
For 1 week, di ba? Kesa sa ikakramo lahat sa last minute. Our guest is already here. Let's bring him in na. At I can see him already. Let's bring in our guest for this Friday, former Senate President Franklin Drilon. Sir, magandang hapon and welcome back to Storycon.
Hi, Senator.
Hi.
Magandang hapon, Senate President.
Hi, sir. The usual gang is here to welcome you. Sir, basic question. Of course, this is a legal question. It's not for us to answer, but it's for for us to ask your insight on this. Is there any option ba na ganun na impeach yung isang tao? Okay, na-impeach na siya. At hindi itutuloy sa Senado ang trial. We understand Mercy Gutierrez's case, nag-resign naman siya eh. So kahit na-impeach siya, nag-resign siya, so tapos ang usapan. Pero in this case, na-impeach na yung VP, is it possible, is it even an option legally and constitutionally for the Senate to say, hindi na natin tutuloy?
In my view, there is no option. There is no such option. The Constitution says the Senate shall forthwith try the impeachment complaint.
Sabi nyo, nung isang araw, SP Drilon, mark my word, there will be no trial in my assessment. The impeachment complaint is there, but the trial, in my view, will never happen. There are no numbers in the Senate to convict Sara. Dalawa yun, no? Yung
two different things.
Hindi matutuloy at saka yung no numbers, no?
Okay.
Anong ibig sabihin ng tama ba yung statement na yun na lumabas sa media?
Very peculiar itong impeachment complaint and trial. This has not happened before. I sat twice as a senator judge. All right. In this particular case, the impeachment trial will spill over to the 20th Congress. It will be started in the 19th Congress. A lot of questions will be raised. Would the impeachment court have jurisdiction? There are arguments on both sides. One will say yes, the Senate is a continuing body. The impeachment court therefore should be a continuing body. On the other hand, as raised by some senators, the impeachment proceedings were terminated or ended with the expiration of the 19th Congress when we get into the 20th Congress. What will happen in my mind is this, and let me emphasize that these are just opinions we express because there are no precedents.
President.
When the 20th Congress will sit, therefore, half of the impeachment of the senator judges will be new. Now, if I were the vice president, what will I do? I will ask for the dismissal because of the issue of whether or not the present Congress would have jurisdiction to try. That is not a decided issue. Assuming to me the impeachment court would have three options. Because they will decide this first. Number one, to dismiss because they have no jurisdiction. Because the impeachment complaint has expired with the closure of the 19th Congress. Second, to deny the motion to dismiss on jurisdictional grounds and say we will try, we have jurisdiction. Number three, the impeachment court can say we defer any ruling on the issue of jurisdiction, and in the meantime, we conduct the trial and receive evidence. Now, in any of these instances, it will go to the Supreme Court. The issue will go to the Supreme Court, and in my mind, it will not be unusual and it will not be improper for the Supreme Court to issue a TRO, a temporary restraining order, because there are no precedents here. They can issue a TRO, and in the meantime, there will be no trial, whatever is the decision of the impeachment court. So, and you know, I think it's accepted that a trial will not be to the political benefit of Vice President Duterte. Once you start the trial and present evidence, you will never know what will happen next. And as seen in the case of the impeachment of ERAP, when the whole thing ended and the people went out to the streets on EDSA DOS when the envelope was not open. So you expect Sara, Vice President Sara, to file a motion to dismiss. And as I have said previously, the impeachment court has three options: to dismiss it, in which case it goes to the Supreme Court, to
Proceed.
on jurisdiction, in which case it goes to the Supreme Court, and number three, rule that we will rule on the motion to dismiss together at the end of the trial. This will go to the Supreme Court. So in any of these options, it will end up in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court can issue a temporary restraining order on the ground of grave abuse of discretion so that the trial will not take place.
Senator, kailan ba you're familiar with the rules of impeachment sa Senate, ha? Kailan ba officially nag-uumpisa yung process ng impeachment trial? Ano yung activity that will trigger the start na pwedeng sabihin ng Senate, inumpisahan na namin eh. Pwede na siyang tumalon sa 20th.
Yung pag-accept ba nila nung impeachment
Kailan
sa
yun?
Senate, doon ba nagsisimula, SP?
Hindi po kailangan matanggap ng Senado ang impeachment complaint.
Yes.
The Constitution is very specific, shall forthwith try the case. Now,
So kailan yung umpisa nung trial? Kasi yun ang gagamiting argument eh. You never started the process of the trial, kaya wala na, talo na. Pero kung yun ang argumento, ano yung sasabihin ng senators, kailan nag-umpisa yung trial?
I think the more reasonable
Nawala ako.
is that the trial starts when the impeachment complaint is received, and it is the constitutional obligation of the Senate to constitute itself into an impeachment court and start the proceedings.
So pagka-receive
So,
pa lang,
February.
ay technically nagsimula na.
Technically, pag tanggap nila, mayroon silang tungkulin sa ilalim ng ating saligang batas na umpisahan ang paglilitis.
So, nung February po to, itong nung dinala yung impeachment at ni-receive sa Senado.
Hindi na-receive eh. Na-receive after the session adjourned.
Ay, oo nga pala, no? Oh, okay.
Akala ko SP na-receive nila 2 hours before nag-adjourn.
Hindi ko alam. That's a fact.
Na-receive ang paperwork, pero whether it was received by the plenary, I suppose,
Submit your papers.
Kasi dumating yun, di ba?
Hindi pa rin akong ganun. Hindi ko ma-verify that in fact it was received earlier physically, but the official reception of the complaint was recorded after the impeachment, after the adjournment.
Pero sir, by your accounting, sir, in the timeline that you presented, whatever happens kasi aabot ang Supreme Court ito eh. For further discussion as to whether or not pwedeng ituloy ang trial ng Senado. So we're looking at a pretty long drawn out legal debate even before you get to the merits of the impeachment.
That's correct. That's why I said I do not see how the trial can start, because this issue would end up in the Supreme Court, and the gods in Padre Faura can take their time.
No, pero Senator, you think the Supreme Court will step in? Impeachment to eh. You think they will step into this kind of work of Congress? Hindi to legislation eh.
Yes, except that what we have learned in law school is that the Constitution and the law is what the court says it is. You know, they can
The final arbiter.
Yeah. They're the final arbiter. So, mahirap naman pumunta sa Panginoon. Wala nang appeal doon.
Kisanto Papa.
Di ba constitutional crisis? Di ba constitutional crisis Sean, na they will get in the way of hindi siya legislation kasi ibang klase siya, di ba?
Well, you know, I cannot answer that. That's
Yeah.
Whether or not it will happen is not dependent on any law, but on how the people perceive the actions of government.
Kasi may
SP,
in-impeach nga na Chief Justice, hindi sila nakialam eh.
Well,
Nung in-impeach at trina yung Chief Justice, they did not stop it.
yeah. Well, as I said, we are all speculating at this point, Ami. I'm sorry.
Pero baka in the case, sir, of the Chief Justice, kasi that was already, the impeachment court was already engaged in deliberations, versus, a question of constitutionality in which this is, kumbaga, this is where it will come in, whether or not it's constitutional to pursue the impeachment trial in the Senate past the 19th Congress.
Hindi kasi, ang tinatanong ko, kasi every member of the Supreme Court can be removed by impeachment, di ba?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So, paano silang makaka-step in sa process na pwedeng sakupin sila? Di ba? I'm just asking, hindi ako abogado eh.
I mean, because this is an interpretation of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And under the Constitution, the body who is authorized to do that is the
Yeah.
Supreme.
SP, anong tingin nyo yung significance nung pag-postpone nung June 2 to June 11 na simula dapat nung
That's more than a week.
nung Senate as a trial court, no? Dahil parang patapos na yung 19th Congress noon eh, no? Parang nasa bingit na. Significant ba 'yon?
Parang na-delay na, lalo pang na-postpone.
Oo. From your vantage point?
Lalo na po na it can overlap into the next Congress. Everybody was saying that already by June, with the start at June 2, siguradong maabot yan sa 20th Congress. Lalo na ngayon, especially now, that the reading of the impeachment complaint was postponed for 9 days. So talagang aabot na po yan sa impeachment sa new Congress. So iwasan na bakit ganito ang sitwasyon ganon aabot na talaga sa 20th Congress.
Pero sir, hindi ho ba signaling din yan? Isn't that kind of a signal by the House, by the Senate leadership as to how important or not important the matter is?
I don't know. Well, that's speculation at this point.
Ang sabi nung isang congressman na kausap ko, SP, ay kung gagawin nyo ng Congress, popostpone nila June 2 to June 11, ay hindi namin tatapusin yung session ng Congress hanggang June 14. No? Ibig sabihin, papatagalin din nila. Dahil hindi pwedeng magsara yung Senado habang bukas pa yung Kongreso. Pwede bang option yon?
I don't know if that's an option. I have my doubts because mayroong legislative calendar yan eh.
Yes.
Nakastep dyan. That is passed by both houses. That's binding on both houses, the legislative calendar. So I think the session will end on June 13, if I'm not mistaken, Friday. So that's I do not know that the House can just disregard it and say we'll continue our sessions beyond June 30.
Senator, itong rules ng impeachment trial, ang gumawa na ito mga senator eh. Pwede ba yung pakialaman ng Supreme Court?
Sorry, Ami?
Ang gumawa niyang rules ng impeachment trial were the senators themselves. Pwede ba siyang pakialaman ng Supreme Court?
I agree. That's a question. As we say that the impeachment court is sui generis, one
Yes.
kind. Now, but the Supreme Court can also assert that under the Constitution, it has the right and power to correct abuse of discretion. And it's all embracing. So there are questions really which has to be settled.
Ang gulo, no?
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll go back to the timeline. That we were earlier talking about. It will get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will look into the constitutional issues even before the Senate goes into the merits of the impeachment trial. How long could this drag on? I suppose wala namang limit yan sa Constitution eh. Pero
Wala, nobody knows.
In the College of Law, we always say, the gods of Padre Faura.
Oo nga eh.
You ask the gods of Padre Faura when they will decide on this. Because nobody else could dictate on them.
So they can sit on it indefinitely, or they can act on it in one day. It's all up to them.
That's correct. Yes, it's all up to them. That's our system.
Inshallah.
Ang gulo eh. Siyang abuse of discretion, pwede din silang i-impeach ng House pag nabuisit, di ba?
Talagang, yeah, it's a.
Pwede ka nag-i-impeach eh.
Yun ang constitutional crisis.
You know, unfortunately, Ami, the impeachment process is not a judicial proceeding purely, but a quasi-judicial process. And, you know, you don't expect that it is not designed to decide purely on legal questions, because
Yes.
there are non-lawyers who are members of the. So how can you expect that it be solely based on what the law, on what the constitutions, or on what evidence supports? So talaga pong ibang usapan ito. It's a process that we have not gone through before. We can cite no precedents on this issue.
Yeah.
Kala ko pa naman
O, eto
puro...
na lang. Malaki ba yung malaki ba yung weight ng public statements ni President Marcos on the issue? You think?
Certainly. President Marcos is the political leader. His allies in Congress and in the Senate will view that as a signal. You know, they can interpret it in any manner they want, but certainly an interpretation that the statement of the president would favor a no trial is certainly within the scope of that statement.
Okay, so we're in for a long haul. Okay.
Hindi, iba-iba kasi. Naguguluhan tayo, Senator, kasi mixed signals, di ba? Wala naman na yung super majority yung nagpadala ng sa Senado eh. Kahit ano sabihin ng Presidente, that's his super majority, di ba? And that was his son who signed the impeachment complaint, unang-una.
Yeah, tama po yan, Ami. You know, those statements would really create doubts in the minds of people as the direction of the president. He can always say this is a matter that will be decided by the impeachment court. But come on, he is the political leader of our country.
Yeah.
Politicians will be the one who decide on this. So, mahirap po paniwalaan na hindi sila nakikialam.
Actually, in two statements ay kinontradict na yung sarili niya. Dahil in one statement, sinabi niya ay hindi siya makikialam dahil separate body yung Senate at saka yung executive. Pero in the second sentence, sinabi niya na ayaw talaga niya ng impeachment, which means nakikialam siya. No? so mismo yung kanyang dalawang statement contradicted each other.
You know, that is the difficulty because ibang pinag-uusapan dito eh. And really, I don't know the advisors of the president, you know, they're always looking at the polls, at the surveys. And mukhang popular yung walang trial eh. Walang impeachment, there should be no impeachment. So,
Pero SP, dalawang survey yung nagko-contradict sa isa't isa eh. Yung isang survey, yung SWS, 68% ang sangayon. Sa
Yes.
isang survey, 51% ang tutol. So which survey ba sila makikinig?
Mas tama si President Marcos, maghanap na lang ako ng sarili kong survey.
No. Very simple, Ami. I will rule on the basis of how I interpret
Evidence.
of the law, the rule of law. If you not agree with me, with my interpretation, but that is how I read the Constitution. So I'll take that position as a leader, you know, he is entitled to interpret the Constitution, not only the Supreme Court. It's really a difficult question. I do not know what will happen to this.
Oo nga.
Pero sir, this is not a legal question. This is a political question addressed to you because you are a political veteran. The signaling basically from Malacanang, from your point of view, is what? Talagang bitawan na yung impeachment trial and let it slide, or is there something happening underneath?
I do not know what are the discussions behind the scene, but on the basis of what we read or what we hear from the president, he's clear. He doesn't want the impeachment. And that may not be even in accordance with law.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the rule that the Supreme Court may ultimately decree is that impeachment must go on, trial must go on. It is the duty of the Senate to do so.
Whether the president is for or against it.
It is not optional.
Yeah.
It is not optional.
Whether the president is for or against it, it must continue.
Yeah, that's correct.
Hindi siya multiple choice, kumbaga.
Tsaka ang hirap ma-appreciate na 260 congressmen signed the impeachment complaint, including yung unang pumirma, yung kanyang anak. At hindi sumunod sa kanya. Parang ang hirap ma-appreciate yun.
Good cup, bad cup. Wala naman puro bad cup tingin sa kanila nung kabila it doesn't work.
Or baka nagbago ihip ng hangin.
Parang hindi naman, yun naman yung position niya even before the impeachment Di ba? Sinabi niya yun.
Sabihin niya, consistent naman talaga siya. Di ba? Yun naman yung original stand niya. Wala, we have to be fair. Sabi niya, di ba, I don't see what good it will do.
Pero ibig sabihin, hindi siya sinunod ng 260 congressmen?
Baka nasusunod doon yung pinsan niya,
Having said all of that, it is my view that substantive law should prevail over technicalities and procedural issues. In this particular case, just personally, on a personal basis, it is my view that the people are entitled to know the truth behind these allegations, regardless of the technicalities, regardless of the opinion of the president. Kailangan po malaman ng taong bayan ano ba ang katotohanan. Because, and especially, that the impeachment process is a process laid out in our Constitution to demand or to account for your action as a public official. You cannot be removed under our laws, and therefore, the only remedy available if you do not deliver your mandate is an impeachment. So to me, the argument is strong that at the very least, the people should hear what the evidence is all about.
Which means, SP, the trial should proceed.
The trial should proceed, and the question of jurisdiction can be resolved when they vote on the final merits of the case.
Kasi you're talking about very grave accusations, di ba? Magmula doon sa mga assertions and allegations and threats down to yung confidential fund use and the mysterious names. So if you just leave it hanging like that, just for political convenience, parang I don't want to touch that. Parang bitin naman tayo lahat.
Mas maganda yung ganyang position, Ronald.
Yes.
Di ba dapat i-adapt yan ng Malacanang comms?
Yes. So, advisean mo sila, Ami. Ami, advisean mo sila. No?
Di ba mas magandang position yan?
SP,
Hindi na naman sila patatawarin ng mga Duterte. Ano pa ba gagawin nila?
Wala nang atrasan yun.
Kahit anong gawin mo, hanggat nakaupo dun sa preso si President Duterte, wala na yung wala nang forgive
wala
and
nang
forget
reconciliation. Wala nang reconciliation.
It's not gonna happen.
SP,
So, you
pag
might as well, mas maganda yung message ni Senate President. Di ba? yung ganung
Yeah.
posisyon.
Sinong Senate President? Si Senate President
Siya,
Drilon o si
si Senator Drilon.
o Senate President
Oo,
Cheese?
hindi ba? Mas magandang i-adapt yung position na yun na we have to know the truth, we are entitled to know the truth.
At saka SP, di ba, pag nasimulan yung impeachment court, pwede nang pabuksan yung bank accounts ni Sara kung gugustuhin ng Senado. Yeah.
Yes. That's an exception under the general rule
Yeah.
of safety for bank accounts.
Yes.
Proceedings in the impeachment trial.
And that could be a game changer kung totoong may mga laman na nai-implicate yung Vice President.
I don't know. I know it will, difficult for us to, any answer there would be speculative.
Pero sir, yun nga, we're stuck in this situation where it might be politically expedient to just ignore the impeachment trial and ignore as well the charges for the survival of the president. Pero we're left hanging. I think we're left hanging. Do we have any recourse as a public to continue pursuing these questions that have been left hanging?
And I agree with you. Political expediency, from what I see in the recent events, is a consideration here, as you said.
Yes, sir. Pero sir, ano nga recourse natin? Kasi sa huli, bitin tayo
Criminal
lang.
case.
Wala
Di ba
ka
yung
lang,
plan B yun?
ang
Yung
recourse mo
plan
kasi
B,
tapos na, election.
criminal case.
Tapos na election. Dapat yun ang recourse mo.
Pwede siya, di ba, Senator, pwede siyang i-indict. She's not immune from criminal prosecution. Kahit nakaupo siya, di ba, yung Vice President, wala naman siyang ganung immunity, di ba?
Wala, but criminal prosecution is always there.
Yeah. Kasi alam ko, yan yung plan B nila eh. Pag hindi natuloy impeachment, papaylo ng ano. Pag hindi,
but
papaylo ng criminal case.
Pero Bok, February pa na pag-uusapan yung criminal case yan ng NBI.
Hindi, kasi nga mag-i-impeachment muna.
Impeachment muna. At saka nandun pa yung ombudsman.
Uunahin yung impeachment.
Sa August pa mag-retire yung ombudsman.
Okay. I get you. I get you, Ronald.
Impeachment muna.
Okay, it's all coming together. Okay.
Although kapag ganito nangyayari, baka nga isabay na nga yung criminal indictment.
Baka kasi itapon lang nung ombudsman eh.
Oh, then your problem is double
O kaya,
jeopardy.
malapit na Agosto eh. Hintay na lang.
The ombudsman's term will expire, I think, in July.
August.
August ang retirement niya.
Okay.
Yun ang sagot ni SP. Okay. Okay. Sige po, may paabol kayo. Ami, any more questions for SP Drilon?
Okay na.
Okay, sir, maraming salamat for joining us this afternoon and giving us your legal and political insights.
Salamat,
Thank
SP.
you very much, Ed, Ronald.
Thank you, Senator.
Safe trips. Safe trips, Senator. Mukhang
Thank you, sir.
may biyahe kayo eh.
May alam ka na naman, no? Okay. Ikaw talaga.
Hindi siya dahig, hindi siya dahig.
Hindi siya sa El Nido. Philippine Sea. Okay. Oh, you're watching Storycon News. You just need to take a break. We'll be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, Ami Pamintuan ng Philippine Star and Tito Rol, Tito Rol Llamas. Sorry, it says they're political heckler. Hindi ako nagsulat yan, ha?
Mas okay yun. Mas okay yun. Yung political pundit kasi, tsaka yung political analyst, kinakailangan may detachment. Kailangan may objectivity.
Which you don't have.
I'm anything but objective. I'm very partisan and biased. Inaamin ko naman yun eh. Kaya nga hindi ako pwedeng analyst. Maliban pa sa hindi ako graduate. Mga political analyst dapat graduate yan. At saka may nasulat.
We don't call you analyst, we call you pandit, which is
ano ba kaibahan ng pansit sa analyst?
Catch-all word for catch-all word for whatever.
Whatever. Wala lang. Parang gano'n lang. Wala lang.
O sige na nga, heckler ka na nga lang.
Okay na yun, heckler. Oh. Mas kinakatakutan yun eh.
Sa bagay. Parang, alam mo, Ami, tanda mo sa Muppet Show.
Yung nasa taas.
Yung dalawa matatanda sa balkonahe.
Sino doon?
Yung dalawa matatanda sa balkonahe. Yung mga heckler doon sa Muppet Show.
Wala kang gagawin tama.
Yung magpay.
Yung wala kang gagawin tama, tatawanan ka lang ng tatawanan.
Gaganon-ganon lang silang dalawa. Bagay sa iyo, no? Sige. Okay. Oy, Ami, ano mo? Headlines mo for Friday.
Yung mga sinabi niyo na yun na nga napunta na sa bilibid si Teves. Pero ano yun hindi yung bilibid yun. I don't think that's the regular prison, hindi siya pwede ron eh. That's the NBI detention facility.
Tama.
Doon sa compound ng bilibid.
Tama.
Kasi sigurado magrereklamo yun pag sinama mo doon sa mga convict.
Hindi pa naman siya convicted, di ba?
Kaya
yeah. Ang bilibid is for convicts lang. So,
yes, it's for convicts. Kaya may special facility yan.
Yeah. So,
Para
bilibid or
kasi
not?
ginagawa pa yung opisina ng NBI kaya wala pa silang malaking facility na para sa mga detainees nila.
So, indication ba ito na pwede na rin si Harry Roque?
Meron siyang statement na he thinks his case is different, dahil siyempre, marami na rin nagtanong sa kanya na ang balita, baka lang naman, yung speculation is baka ikaw ang sumunod. Of course, he's saying na meron siyang asylum petition, kaya yung iba yung kanya. Pero ang pagkaalam ko, hindi ba may asylum petition din siya,
Tama.
Si Arnie Teves, meron din siya.
With Timor-Leste.
It was rejected, but I think it's ongoing. Merong petition, motion for reconsideration
Pwede kasi mag-decision motu proprio yung Estado eh. Na, teka.
That's a state.
Hindi ka namin kailangan dito. National security. Natawa nga ako doon sa dahilan. National security eh. At saka,
they realized after 2 years.
And I suppose each country has its own
Yes.
set of rules on how to handle petitions for asylum eh. So,
saka, siyempre, may pressure yan from dun sa bansang nagre-request. Na mas malaki ba ang aming ganansya dun sa hindi namin ito ibibigay o ibibigay namin? I-calculate din ng Estado. Dahil, siyempre, political din yan eh. Hindi lang yan legal.
Yeah. Not to mention nga na each state has the right to boot out any alien it considers to be hindi unattractive yan. What's the word for that?
Si Teves, ini-invoke niya na may threat sa buhay niya, kaya ayaw niyang bumalik dito, di ba? Actually, baka pwedeng may basis yun na siyempre maraming gustong gumunti sa kanya eh. Kasi marami din kahawayan eh. Pwedeng sabihin na valid yung sinasabi niyang yon. But it was rejected eventually by Timor-Leste.
Yes. Kay Harry Roque ba may threats din?
Hindi, ang binabanggit niya political persecution eh.
So,
ang sabi ng gobyerno
Baka
natin...
baka naman, kasi parati yung pinipitik.
Ano bang ibig sabihin ng political persecution?
Pinapersecute ni bully ka raw eh.
Ni political heckler.
Bully. Political heckler,
Bully daw ako eh. May nagsumbong kay Ami eh.
Bully. Ayan yan, isa sa persecutor niya.
Madadami na naman
Kaya
sa inyo.
titingnan natin yung takbo ng yun kasi ang sabi ng government natin, pag tinanong lang naman ng gobyerno natin, bine-prosecute niya daw sila, although normally dapat hindi tanongin, di ba? Pero kung tatanungin ng gobyerno, sasabihin nila, hindi yung political persecution, it's a criminal prosecution. And it's human trafficking, qualified human trafficking, na medyo matindi ang ng mga European sa ganong offense.
Very keen sila dyan. Human trafficking and money laundering.
Yeah, just a difference of one
Kaya
letter, no?
titingnan natin.
Persecution and prosecution.
Ang hindi ko lang sigurado kung kinancel na yung passport,
Yeah, there's been a petition for that. But,
Ang nilinaw
it's
yata ng
open.
DFA ay parang dalawa yung passport ni Harry Roque. Yung isa
Hindi
yung
daw.
diplomatic.
Cancel na raw.
Oh, kinancel.
Wala na daw,
DFA
kinancel
says
na
that
raw.
he has only one left na active. After he stepped down.
Meron din ako dati nun. Yung diplomatic
Pero pag
passport.
nawala ba ang validity nun? Meron bang record yun na wala ng validity? Pwede mo siya itago actually, di ba?
Actually, dapat pagkatapos ng term,
Nakakancelin
dapat pagkatapos ng term mo ay kinakancel na yon. Pero yung iba, hindi nakakancel kahit 1 or 2 years eh. Parang nakakalimutan.
Yeah.
Oo. Kaya tumatagal. Pero technically, dapat nung hindi
You mean digitally cancelled?
ewan ko kung paano kinakancel.
No, I mean, nagre-reflect yun doon sa, sa immigration ng ibang bansa and sa immigration natin, gano'n?
Hindi rin.
O, so, paano ano yun?
Kaya nga so you can use it.
Dahil alam ko may mga may mga nangyari na tapos na yung term mo as a cabinet secretary pero yung passport, diplomatic passport mo hindi pa kinakancel.
Kasi yung
Ginagamit
physical
ko pa.
cancellation yung binubutas eh.
Oo. Tama.
That's physical cancellation. Digital
So hanggat
cancellation
hindi
means
siya officially canceled, Ronald, pwede pang gamitin.
Oo. Alam ko nagagamit
Diba?
Anyway, but inga,
Dapat isuko mo na
DFA says that it already canceled that particular
yung diplomatic
passport. Yeah.
fan. Ngayon, ang susunod dyan,
That's
yung
yung
kanyang
unang one.
regular passport. No? Pero pwede na kasi magsimula yung forfeiture cases laban sa kanya. Kung merong criminal cases, halimbawa human trafficking, money laundering, pwede rin magsimula yung forfeiture ng kanyang properties at saka mga bank accounts.
Kailangan hingin nyo ng prosecution.
Yes.
Yeah, that has to be a court case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes.
Pero ibig sabihin, pwede na rin simulan yung process na yun.
Okay. Tama na kayo dyan. Mag-weekend na tayo. Kayo naman, no? Dami niyo pang sat-sat dyan. Mag-weekend na tayo. It's a Friday. Happy weekend na. And thank you for joining Storycon today. Ami Pamintuan, editor ng Philippine Star, and Tito Rol Llamas, our resident political heckler.
Heckler, yeah.
Okay.
Pwede.
Okay tayo doon.
Wag na yung bossing ng mga political pundit. Dami nagagalit sa akin din.
Sige. Ang papa ng mga heckler, Tito Rol Llamas.
Yeah, pwede.
Jessica,
Pwede.
Monday, 4 p.m. for the Storycon. I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.